For the first time ever, the United States government has released an unclassified report detailing dozens of incidents over the past 2 decades in which US military have encountered UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, more commonly known by the rest of us as UFOs or unidentified flying objects. Extraordinary footage has also been released by the US Pentagon showing the mysterious movements of UAPs that, like the report itself, raises many questions as answers. Joining us from Washington State in the US to separate the fact from fiction, science fiction, is pilot, former US Air Force pilot, author and acclaimed aviation expert, frequent guest on ABC News and Good Morning America, which has a somewhat larger audience than ours. And somewhat high-paid presenters too. John Nance, it's so nice to have you back with us on
It's
Breakfast.
good to be back.
Thank you. I don't know if you remember the last time you were on in 2018, but you talked then about why the US was formalising a process to release, well, actually, what to do when they encounter a UFO. And what I hadn't realised is that there have been 144 such encounters or incidents over the past 2 decades, right?
That's correct. That's correct. At least 144, but 144 that have a great degree of credibility to the sightings because they involved either government people or Navy pilots, folks that we think have an accelerated capability of identifying something as far as they can. But let me tell you, this is really fascinating, and it is a milestone. Even though the report was a little bit watered down, the one that's released to the public, basically, I'll put it this way. I've been an aviator over half a century, and flying for the airlines, flying for the United States Air Force, as you mentioned, I have all until that Navy tape, the first one came out, and then many others subsequently. I can't explain that. There's just simply no terrestrial explanation, as far as I know, to something that is obviously possessed of its own gravitational field and has the capability of making a 90-degree turn that would crush an insect, let alone a human.
Yeah, this is the fascinating thing. I just want to talk about the phrase UFOs, because for a long time it was a synonym for kind of conspiracy theories and people that we just dismissed. But in fact, prima facie, it is what it is. The moment we can identify it, it's not an unidentified flying object anymore. So these are things we simply don't know what they are. And we haven't been able to attribute to tricks of the light, to weather balloons, to someone shining a laser into the sky, right? Now, you talked about this extraordinary footage. We've got it. And every time I look at this famous footage, which is shot by, I don't know whether it's naval pilots or US Air Force, I think, what
US Navy.
US Navy, I think. And, you know, they're saying, look at this thing, dude. What is it? Do we know what it is, John?
Well, we know some things. One thing we can be sure of is that there was a hard metallic object or a hard object of some sort that was reflecting radar waves, not from just one source, not just one fighter, but a number of different sources. And so we know that this wasn't a visual trick of some sort or maybe some interdimensional trick. It actually, whatever it is, exists and was in our atmosphere for that period of time. Secondly, the number and volume, there are 144, at least 143 hard sightings that have radar, etc., indicate that this is something that we really do have to pay attention to. Now, I think it's incorrect. This is my personal opinion, but I believe it's incorrect for us to take a look anywhere in the world at something like this and say, well, these are obviously a potential threat. If they were built by Russia or China, yes, they would be a threat. But I think that's as close to getting ruled out by their flight dynamics as we can. At any event, one of the things we can say is something was there. Something has been seen numerous times. It's been recorded. You've seen it yourself. And they do things as they are going aerodynamic that no airplane that we know of can do, and using technologies that don't have any visible means of propulsion. Whether they're extraterrestrial or not is, of course, the open question that nobody wants to actually put an imprimatur on. But I would tell you this, I have no other explanation for them.
I want to come back to that phrase, something was there. And so we know from the way radar works that they were solid objects. That thing we were looking at in that extraordinary footage is solid.
Indeed. It is, or it wouldn't be bouncing the radar waves, or whatever it is has the same characteristics as a solid object. And so from that, you would conclude something was moving through our atmosphere with each one of those pictures.
So previously, back in the 60s, if we had these conversations, you and I had probably been smoking marijuana beforehand. But the fact of the matter is, this material's come from the Pentagon, right? And the US military has been treating this stuff seriously for a long time. Why didn't they tell us before now?
I'm not sure we had this kind of hard evidence before. There certainly have been apocryphal statements coming from all over the place, including the type of individual reports that led the whole subject of UFOs to be considered an eye-rolling joke. And we don't know, the public doesn't know. I don't know what happened in Roswell, New Mexico, if anything happened. But I think we have to put all that aside and say two things. Number one, there are so many billions of stars out there that it would be ridiculous, as Carl Sagan said once before he died, to think that we're alone. Secondly, if somebody has created interstellar space travel, they're probably not coming here to harm us, and probably have been here for a very long time, because it's just like dealing in geology. You deal in a different time base. And thirdly, this is the first time that we've really had such hard evidence of something that we cannot explain. And that's what I fall back on. I can't tell you they're flying saucers or they're from an extraterrestrial source, but I can tell you that there's no explanation I know of.
It's really wonderful to have this conversation, isn't it? And to contemplate these possibilities. And it seems to me the only thing less likely than the fact this is happening is the idea that it wouldn't be, given the universe is infinite. And so the notion that we alone are living in sentience seems almost hubristic, right? It's just, what the hell are we dealing with? We have no idea.
Well, I think we can say that if these things are what they appear to be, and that the explanation is not from this planet, then one thing we can say is that they have demonstrated no hostile intent whatsoever, and that, I think, is important, because we've got some people who would like us to be scared. And secondly, this comes from my favorite line in Shakespeare, which is in Hamlet. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio, was the line, and I think we have to keep that firmly in mind.
Gosh, a guest who talks about UFOs, who has your degree of expertise and then quotes Shakespeare at the end, you can come on, we'll have you back every morning. So you just set aside this time every day. Thank you, John Nance. We so appreciate you being with us. I know everyone in the show was really looking forward to that conversation. And I love the fact you are two-eyed and full of curiosity and possibility. Thank you for your time this morning. Really nice to talk to you.